Hey everybody, it's Laura. Welcome to the Get Clear Show. Today I am so excited because this is the event that we have all been waiting for. Today I am going to get to visit with Mr. Joshua Pomeroy, and I'm so excited that he's on the show today. Joshua and I actually met in a Facebook group, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we've been talking back and forth, and come to find out we have a lot of the same interests. And Joshua is just one of these people that, he says something that I'm already thinking, and I'm like, yes, yes. So I'm really excited for you all to get to meet him today. Joshua, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure to be on your show, and thank you for the kind words in the introduction. It's just been a great time getting to know you a little bit on Facebook, and what a wonderful way of being able to connect and collaborate with people. So thanks for having me.
Well, I'm glad you're here. And absolutely, right now you and I are pretty involved in it's a group of people who do Facebook streaming live. And we've been sharing some of our ideas and some of our thoughts about live streaming. Before we get into all of that, though, Joshua, I want to give you the opportunity to share with our audience today, before we get into some questions and discussion and all of that. I just want to give you the chance to talk a little bit about what it is that you do. I know you are a graphic artist. I know you have a lot of business things going on, and we were talking before the show that you are way busy. So why don't you tell us a little about yourself, and maybe a little bit about how some people can connect with you if they're interested in the things you have going on.
Yeah, well, not to go back too far, but basically, professionally, I've been a graphic designer for a little over 10 years. And, along with that comes just a lot of learning. And I actually graduated from a small community college in Indiana for fine art. And fine art was great, but there was very little technology training with that specific school and with that degree. It was very much reading and a lot of papers and history and a lot of good stuff that I really, really value, because it's really influenced the way that I design now. But most of the technology side of things, like Photoshop and the Adobe Creative Cloud now, I mean, back then it was, I first got my hands on, I think, Photoshop like 6, not CS6, but 6. So
Oh,
I know there's people that have started from the very first one. So that was very exciting for me to see how these artistic disciplines translate into this digital world, and being able to to really communicate through visual art and design in a digital format. And that's just kind of been a lot of my passion through and my expression in my own artwork. I very much enjoy using the computer to kind of be creative, and so that's kind of led me to learning all kinds of new things, and got me into being able to communicate with my clients, because I've freelanced for the last 6 or 7 years fairly successfully. And I've implemented video communication for the last couple of years, just by doing a little QuickTime video, and you can send it in an email as long as it's small enough.
wow.
Doing live video on Facebook, that's like just opened up a whole new world of being able to communicate with clients professionally, and a lot more. There's just almost seems like endless possibilities in the days we're living in right now. So that's very, very cool. And I 2 years ago, me and my wife kind of got out of the house a little bit professionally, and established an LLC called Pomeroy Creative. We have a little boutique here in Howell, Michigan, downtown. We just officially opened today. Our grand opening will be September 10th. And so we're really excited about that. It's kind of a niche boutique, as well as a lot of handcrafted items, art and decor. And we're going to be offering creative classes, we're going to call them. So I've got a couple that I'm teaching coming up here on intro to drawing, and hopefully we'll be able to live stream those as well and include a wider community. But the classes are going to be held really live, face to face, in
Wow.
person. So that's going to be awesome, and something that we are very excited about offering our community here.
Wow,
So
that's pretty
that's
neat.
where we're at.
So you really do have an awful lot going on, don't you?
Yes.
Can I get you to turn your speakers down just a little bit? We're getting some feedback.
Oh, sure.
I think that's a lot better.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, great. So doing this live thing, and there's a difference between live, like what you're talking about, real people coming in that you could touch in the flesh, and the kind of live that you and I have been tapping into recently, which I think is, for me, in where I live and the resources that I have, is really pretty awesome, because I'm getting ready to start this project where I'm going to be writing a book. Actually, the book's already been written. I'm going to take my audience through the process of typing this book, publishing this book, creating a cover for the book, all of the ins and outs of that, and getting this book up on Amazon. It's actually for a woman who currently is incarcerated, and she's written 3 books while she's been behind bars. And so she wanted somebody to publish one of those for her, and I don't know which one she's going to pick, but I'm going to get to do that. And I think that we have an opportunity in today's world to do things that we weren't able to do 5-10 years ago. We just weren't. I mean, if I wanted to be able to do something for somebody, I had to literally be sitting down in front of them with them to show them. And now I can do that, you know, to people all over the world. Pretty soon I'm going to be interviewing a woman that is from Japan. I wouldn't be able to do that unless I flew to Japan, right? Yeah. Or I had tons of money and could send a reporter over there, and then we could broadcast live that way. But now anybody can just get on Facebook, get on YouTube, and just, it's right there. It's instant for everybody to see. So what types of things do you see? What types of opportunities do you think are open to people now that maybe weren't open before?
Well,
I'm gonna interrupt you for just a second. While you're sharing that, this is one of the things that happens when you do go live. I have some dogs that are not happy right now, so while you're sharing your thoughts on that, I'm gonna go get them happy so we don't keep hearing them bark. How's that?
Okay, sure.
All right, thanks.
So hi viewers. So the question was, you know, what kind of things do I see? What potential do I see with being able to you know, share live video this way and connect with people from all over the world? What's happened is that distance has been canceled, and I think that's so cool. Live video has such a tremendous power to cancel distance and cancel time. I mean, we're right now just in this conversation having, you know, we're in 2 different time zones, but effectively, you know, live video has canceled distance, and it's canceled delay. You know, this whole, you know, like, I got to wait on somebody to get back with me. Like, I'm going back to, like, you know, snail mail and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we can, the speed at which we can communicate ideas is really insane in a good way. I mean, it's just tremendous. And so some of the things that I've been able to see already, and I've only been tapped into it just a little bit so far. I got to live stream into 2 different schools at the same time in California. I'm in Michigan, and this was just a few months ago. They saw some stuff that I was doing with Google Drawings, you know, using Google Drive apps to be creative. And so in their digital communications class, these 2, they're kind of sister schools. They had me as a guest live stream, and the kids were able to participate and ask questions live. And we did like a 40-minute session between 2 schools, and several administration joined in. So there's probably 70 people altogether watching this live stream, and the students were participating on their computers, kind of replicating what I was doing on the screen. And so this is just, you know, having that kind of one, kind of the educational potential, the communication potential, the collaboration potential. I loved, it was just a blast for me. I loved being able to talk to the teachers and get to know some of the kids and answer some of their questions. And then they asked some questions that I didn't know. And so we were just like, hey, you know what, let's figure that out together. And we all just did it right then in the moment. And, you know, it was like, 9 a.m. their time, and it was like 2 a.m. my time, or whatever the difference was.
Wow.
But it was just a phenomenal experience, and it also shows me that there is a use for that. There's such a potential for that kind of thing to happen more, and I think that's still just scratching the surface of, you know, being able to translate and transfer ideas and intent, like the heart behind it, you know, is to help somebody, or whatever the message is. The message is so important, and it's easier and quicker than ever to share that with someone and get a response back immediately. So
Yeah,
I see tremendous
absolutely.
potential.
I think what an opportunity for our educational system to get to tap into people that might not otherwise have had the opportunity to contribute to a
Yeah.
classroom setting. You know, I was thinking about, I used to be a teacher. I was a teacher in a prison, actually. And I had to jump through so many hoops in order to be able to get a guest in, especially in the prison system, to
Oh,
get a guest in to be able to speak to my students, that it would have been so nice had I had the opportunity to do something live in a simple enough and economical format, you know, for my students, for the benefit of them. And so that's a great application that, honestly, until you mentioned it just now, I hadn't even thought about. I think beyond the things that we can do when it comes to marketing and business and in real time, not having to wait for answers like you talked about earlier.
yeah.
Beyond that, it is also a great way to connect with people personally. Certainly, we've had Skype and we've had some of these, you know, other ways that you can do FaceTime and all of that. Video chats have been going on for a while. But to be able to bring a couple of people together to do something in real time with all of the mistakes, that's what I think is so cool. You know, it's like earlier, I had to go shut the dogs up.
Yeah.
With it just being raw, and you can see the person's expressions, and you can really get a feel for what they're saying and have a conversation like you and I are. To be able to do that and then share it with other people and say, look, you don't have to be afraid. You know, Skype is a pretty personal thing. I might Skype my grandkids or FaceTime my grandkids, or you know, my sister or something like that. And it's a pretty personal thing. And that's great. But to be able to tell people, look, communication is okay. And it is not something to be afraid of. Look, Joshua and I communicated live with all of its flaws. I mean, this isn't big network broadcasting that we're doing here. It has all of its flaws, and that's okay. I think that people can have civil and meaningful conversations that they can share with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and that's definitely something I would encourage any of the viewers, or if you catch the replay of this, don't. I would just give you this suggestion. Don't wait for things to be professional to start, because what you have now is so valuable to someone else, but it's not getting to them if you're not sharing it. And so that's something I think, you know, I mean, like, you know, I'm just in my basement right now, and, you know, try to make it as best as that I can, but it's definitely not perfect, you know, and that's okay, like you're saying. And the biggest thing I think is just, video is such a shareable format now with the internet and the speeds that we're able to, even just, you know, not that many years ago, this would have been impossible on old dial-up, you know, connections. But this is such a shareable format. You get so much, not just content like a text document, but content like emotion, content that's full of the heart intent, even, you know, the expression, the personality, all of that comes through in video. And it's just you know, something that's still present in a flawed video. And there's so much value in that. And I would also say some of those things, some of those interruptions are where maybe the majority of the value of that piece of content lies. That's something that I've been trying to do with both YouTube and Facebook. When I do, you know, little tutorial videos, and doing stuff live now gives me the opportunity to be interrupted by something that may be more important than my agenda. Somebody may be wanting to learn something that I had no intention of presenting, but because they're able to interact live, it gave me an opportunity to be interrupted. And
Right.
I think those moments could be so rich and so valuable for so many other people. And I would
Yeah.
just encourage everybody to do that.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it sparks creativity. You are definitely a creative mind. You're the kind of person who comes up with an idea and likes to create. And I can see that in some of the things that you share when you share on Facebook and the videos that I've watched of you on YouTube. I see that. So you have one of those creative minds. And the thing about that is you're only one person. If you're like me, I mean, I'm only one person. And so when I get to see somebody else just thinking out loud or sharing their ideas, it sparks some creativity in me. You and I have a mutual friend. His name is Bernard Fields. In fact, I think he started the group that we've been communicating in. And, recently Bernard was making a music video, and he went through that entire process through live streaming, and he certainly had some hiccups along the way. I mean, not all of his streams were great quality, and as the audience, we sometimes had to wait for certain things to happen. He was in the studio, and we had to wait for them to get set up, and you can kind of jump on and jump off
Right.
when you're watching live streaming, and that's pretty cool too. But he did that. That whole process was live over the course of, I think it was about a week. Do you remember how long it took him?
Yeah, I think
I think
it
it was
was.
about a week that he did that.
Mhm.
And so I'm watching this and I'm thinking, that's genius.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that I've ever seen somebody basically just live stream their workday, and that's what he did. He live streamed pretty much his whole workday,
Yeah.
and I thought that's pretty cool. And I started thinking of some ideas for myself and some business ideas that I want to implement as a result of watching him do that. So I think that watching other people as well as getting out there and doing it yourself is very beneficial to the community as a whole. I don't know. I don't know if that even makes sense to you.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. And I mean, and Bernard's one of those people, we're good friends, and we actually got to meet in person a year ago in Cincinnati. And and because of that, I think that, that wasn't how we initially met. We initially met through a Facebook group, but so being able to connect in person because we had a relationship online, fellow designer. Here's, somebody who's really not that far away. It was only about 4.5 hours or so to drive. And so that, to take the time to meet somebody in person and just, uh, hop back into like this Facebook world, this online world with this context of like, oh man, yeah, I got to shake his hand. We got to meet in person. And that was very, very cool. But it never would have happened had we not first connected online. And so
Online.
that's such a cool, I think, yet again, just like you were saying, that the personal conversations that can happen, and those personal conversations being shared, I think, add value to people watching. And that, essentially what I'm hearing you say is that watching someone else's experience, whether that would be a work experience, a behind the scenes of something they're making, or a personal conversation, much like what we're having now, can provide someone with answers, can provide someone with a spark and an idea. Maybe, oh, I never thought of that. And
Right.
hopefully that does, what we're doing now, we'll do that for people.
Let me ask you something else, Joshua. So far, we've only talked about Facebook and YouTube, but there are so many other platforms out there that are providing opportunities for live streaming. And we've got Twitter out there. There are just some other places. I know, not so much the live streaming, but now you can put videos on Instagram, and of course your Snapchat and all of these. Do you use these platforms to market yourself, or is this more just a way for you to keep your brand out, which is part of marketing? I understand that, but are you using this as a funnel for income? Are you streaming any business through that? How is that working for you?
I really have only even considered that idea, and really that whole concept of just using social media as a means of marketing either my business or my personal brand or whatever, um, maybe the last year or so. But one thing that I have kind of decided about that is that, um, I I want to be genuine on every platform to participate on, and that's kind of my, and our business. That's just the way that we're gonna, that we've chosen to do it. Like that's just one thing that we're not compromising on is, um, I heard the phrase, and it's an old phrase. I forget who wrote it, but it goes, in the particular lies the universal, and I think that that's so true. Basically, meaning what's important to you personally also carries value universally, and those particular moments people find so much more value than trying to be general and in saying something that you think provides value to as many people possible, like
Right.
the flaws, like the mess ups, like just the me being me. My sister wrote something very very kind and very profound, just this past Monday on my birthday. But she mentioned something about this idea, and if anybody you want to go to my Facebook page and read it, I encourage you to do that, because she's very uh, well written. But it has to do with this idea that um, there are important moments that 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 we experience as human beings, and those moments being shared just as they are, just genuine and raw, has the value universally, just across the board. Everybody can find something that you might think nobody else will get this, and that's the exact thing that people seem to want to see more of. And so that's something that I try to do. Like Instagram, I just kind of use it as my daily journal that I kind of want to post there. I link it to my website, and so I use that just kind of as like this live journal, and very, um, it's my wife, a very
Hi.
a very visual, which I am anyways, being an artist, kind of just as a visual journal. And I engage on other platforms and kind of, try to use them a little bit differently. Each one, I don't try to just, blast the same thing everywhere. I'm trying to be a little bit better about that. Like, treat them as, as, as special and unique in each one, because I have different people that follow me on Facebook than I have on YouTube. It's a different community, and there are
It
different
really
interests,
is. Yeah.
there are different needs, there are different questions that come up. And so everywhere that I engage, that's just kind of my routine. That's what I want to be about, is just being me as genuinely as possible, everywhere that I engage online. And if that translates into sales, I think that's the best kind of sales situation you could have, because it's not that they responded to me just being me and having interest in what I have to offer, and that's what I want to grow.
Yes, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. I'm all for organic growth. I really believe in building relationships with people and growing that way.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it was you that I had spoken to a few weeks ago about this. There are all kinds of gimmicks out there, likes for likes, clicks for clicks, pay this much money, and we'll guarantee that you have 1,000 subscribers by the end of the week, and all
Yeah.
of those gimmicks out there. But here's the thing, they don't stick with you. Those people are not really going to hear what you have to say. They don't really care what you have to say. And they're certainly not going to buy anything from you that you might in the future be selling. They're just not, because you haven't taken the time to develop that relationship. And I know this is a slow way of building your brand and building your business, but I spent a lot of time, I spent years as a life coach. And here's what I know to be very true. I started out, I did 19 years as counseling, and I left the counseling field and I went into life coaching. And it didn't take very long for me to figure out that my clients that I had the most success were the ones that I was able to be genuine and honest with in regards to myself. I could say to them, you know what, I've dealt with the same struggle that you're going through. Here's how I dealt with it. Let's have a conversation about it. But I was younger, and I really wanted to make a go of my business. And so I did I actually taught business management and taught people to do what I'm going to tell you not to do now. And that is, you have to stay professional. And by that, I mean, you don't open up about yourself and you have this prescribed method. I think I did a video the other day about that. You have to stick to this plan. I've got this, 3-year plan, and you have to stick to it. And you don't ever break that veneer that you've put on because you want people to respect you as a business person. But unfortunately, I think what really happens is they're completely turned off by that. We're an oversold to society, and people are catching on to gimmicks. They get it. They've seen it, and they know what's coming next. They know that, oh, you're going to try to sell me at the end of this thing, or you're not being sincere, you're not being honest. And I revamped my entire business here just recently, just within the last few months. I started from scratch, and I said, I want to do some things different. And I'd hired a few coaches, and I met with some coaches to give me ideas. And there was just one thing that, I had one coach that I really could get on board with, but I had a couple of other business coaches that I just could not get on board with, because everything with them was all about the bottom line. And I think that there's more to marketing and business and just all of that than the bottom line. I had one coach tell me, you shouldn't be doing your talk show unless you're charging somebody. People should be paying you to be on your show. Well, I don't agree. I think that the more that you give away, the more opportunity that you have to gain. For example, I don't think that I would have been given this opportunity to write this book that I'm going to be writing for this gal. Like I said, she wrote it, but I wouldn't have the opportunity to do that. That opportunity helps me. It gives me exposure. It gets me out there so that eventually somebody's going to come along and say, hey, I really want this skill that you have now developed, this ability that you have, and I'm willing to pay you for it. The fact of the matter is, this gal's incarcerated. She cannot pay me for it. But now people are going to see that skill that I've developed as a result of giving something away. And I also believe in giving things away just for the sake of giving them away. I think that if you walk around life like this, I talk about this almost every time I do a video. If you walk around life with these clenched fist hands and say, I'm not going to give anything away, well, there's no opportunity for something to come in either.
Right.
And that is a truth. I think that it works in your personal life, in your spiritual life, as well as in business. And so when we do things like these live streaming events, what we're doing is we're giving stuff away. And I know that by walking around with my hands like this, I am going to get so much more. Will that eventually turn into dollar signs? Well, of course, that's my hope. We all have to eat. We all have to put food on the table and pay the light bills and things like that. That's just the fact of our universe. We have to do that. And so, of course, that's the hope. But through that process, I'm willing to let my business grow organically over the course of the next year or two, rather than force something to happen in the next 3 months because, just for the sake of that bottom line, because I will get repeat customers later. I know that to be true. I've learned it that way just in doing business in the past.
Yeah, I think that's so wise, especially today. And we can look back not even that long ago, in the last several years, and even right now. If I think that if people choose to build business any other way at this point, with so much so much potential for transparency. Now there's people that don't take advantage of that, corporations that don't take advantage of that, but I see the smart ones doing that. I see people that I follow, like Adobe, taking great advantage of this live video, being themselves, being transparent, and intent on providing value for their users and for their customers, and they do that in so many ways, not just with their products, but with their personal, just sharing and videos and all of that kind of stuff. And something that like my wife and I with our business have again kind of chosen to do is choose to be aware of the fact that if we grow our business on some economic formula that could change in a couple of years, like there could be something right now that's extremely stable, extremely solid, and a way to turn that into profits, but that can change and that rug can be pulled out from underneath you.
Yes.
Rather than building a business or a company or a personal brand or whatever it happens to be on you just being yourself, And all you can do is grow and get better. And hopefully what that means then is that that organic, slowly growing community will support you even when times are hard.
That's
And I think that the likelihood of that happening is so much higher than a business or profits that are built on some kind of formula or gimmick, or even things that may just be so solid and sound and mathematical and correct.
right.
You know, people, we deal with people every day in any industry that you happen to be involved in. At the end of the day, business is about people, and if you don't care about people, you have no business doing business. That's what we've kind of chosen to build our business model around, is that we want to provide value for people, because people really are the ones who help pay our bills. So
Yeah. Yeah, and that sometimes can sound a little cliche, but unfortunately it is absolutely true. I like what you said about the rug can be pulled out from under you. My husband and I, years ago, we owned a store downtown in our small community that we lived in at the time. And through a series of events, we had to close that store. But the relationships that we built with the people in the community and the communities around us that we served, those lasted. Those things lasted. So when that business closed and I needed to do something else for a living as a result of that, I had offers from people that had done business with me and said, hey, we see the store closed. You obviously have some time on your hands. Why don't you come work for us? And I had some great offers on the table as a result of that. And I think that I've learned that I've watched people who didn't do that. Instead, they alienated people because they were so afraid to give up their secrets or give up, just any part of themselves, that when their personal rug got pulled out from under them, people looked at him and said, well, he's a jerk anyway. Why would I want to help him now?
right.
So
Yeah.
you're in a wonderful position, I think, to keep building those relationships with the people around you through your store, through the other things that you do. Especially, I love your YouTube videos because you give away so much knowledge in those videos. And you keep doing that someday somebody's going to come to you and say, you've given me so much and I've learned so much from you. Hey, I want to give back.
Yeah, absolutely. I just had a comment yesterday on my YouTube channel from an artist who's uh, much more seasoned than I am, and I would love to see some of his work. If he happens to be watching this, please send me a message again, because what he said was that he's been a professional artist for 45 years. So I'm just kind of
Wow.
guessing in my mind about his age, and that means something to me, because I'm still relatively a young guy in this game, and he's he just commented about how much value that he was able to find, and how much he was still learning, and learning from one of my videos, and it was extremely humbling. It's still like, wow, holy cow, this person has a thing or two to teach me. I know that for sure.
Right.
But take the time to make a comment like that. It helps me know that I'm on the right track. It helps me know that, what, giving away these kinds of things does something for me too. It helps me feel fulfilled, and it helps me feel like there are meaningful things that come out of the time that I've invested in helping someone else be successful or learn something new. And it's definitely, a two-way street with those kind of things. It's so worth, giving information away like that.
What are some of the things that you would consider yourself to be pretty much an expert in right now? I don't know if you ever get to be an expert in when you're doing digital stuff, because the programs change all the time and it's an ever-changing field. But right now, I know you do a lot with Adobe. I know you do that. And I just watched some of your tutorials because I'm struggling right now with OBS, and you did a great tutorial on that the other day. And so, but what are the areas that you feel exceptionally proficient in that you like to help people with?
I have several videos on YouTube on Photoshop, and I've probably spent the most amount of time in Photoshop and in its development over several years. And there's been so many things added throughout that time. Like it is really hard to keep up with. And there are tools that I have actually never touched that someone else would have to show me how to use. But it really, to me, it really is about like how to get the job done. and whatever the job is at hand. I actually have more videos now on Google Docs than I have on any Adobe product, and that's not to say it's a replacement for anything Adobe, but what I'm finding is that the learning curve for something that you can use in any web browser, it seems to be a lot easier for people to kind of get on board. For like small businesses or people who are just trying to get into live stream or make something for their YouTube channel using Google Drawings or Google Slides, something that's just not quite as intimidating. And so if anything, I would say I have some level of expertise in is actually just in utilizing any tool. And that maybe sounds really arrogant, but it's more about this decision making. It's like what job needs to get done, and what tool can
Which
you use
tool
to
should you
do that?
use for
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
And sometimes the simplest one is the best one. Sometimes you don't need Photoshop, to make your YouTube artwork or your thumbnails or things like that. And so I've made a lot of content around those ideas that, and in the design world, talking with other designers, that's something that I hope I have grown in over the years, because design really is about decisions. We're decision makers. We make micro decisions every day about certain things, which font, what colors, all of that kind of stuff. And it really has very little to do with the actual program as much as it has to do with those important small decisions that make up the entire whole of
Right.
the product. And so hopefully those decisions throughout the years have gotten better regardless of the tool, because the tools do change quite a bit and very rapidly now, with being able to deploy with just a download new updates and all that kind of stuff. So but
And I
yeah,
think they get better all the time. They get a whole lot more user friendly.
yes,
You
yeah,
think so?
yeah. And I'm glad to see them go in there, like building in a tremendous amount of power, but also making them much more efficient and much more accessible to new users, and without taking away anything from the seasoned professionals who've been using them for years. And I think Adobe in particular, I think, is very careful about that. And I'm grateful for all the stuff that they've been able to put out that has helped me do my jobs, throughout the years. It's just tremendous. But then also, there's just there's other things out there that help you get the job done. And so I love introducing people to new things, and they get it. Some people that they just don't get Adobe, they don't get the interface, they don't get that or this or that, or it takes them a really, really long time. And so sometimes just introducing them to a different tool that can help them accomplish the same thing, just the way that their brain works or whatever it might happen to be. And I totally get that, because there are definitely things in my life that I'm the same way about. Like, okay, I just need a different perspective, and all this. And so I'm always looking for the underdog, or who's developing what. There's one right now that I'm working with called Gravit.io, and it's a vector-based application that runs in your web browser. And so web technology, that's a whole other thing, but I'm very interested in that. I want to be active in like building on web technology, because it's literally cross-platform, and it's very easy to access. So,
well, and we used to say that the internet was a thing of the future. It's not. Right. If you are not doing business, I don't care what business you own. If you own a bakery downtown, if you own a body shop, I don't care. If you're not on the internet, you're not doing business anymore. That's just the world that we live in. And so, I mean, whether that's a website, or you are putting video content out there, or even blogging for your business, whatever it is, people want to be able to go online. That's the only way they trust you anymore.
Yeah.
So have you had the opportunity to work with other people who say, I want to start this business, or I have this idea, but I have absolutely no clue as to what I'm doing? There's still a lot of people out there who don't even know how to download a program, for example. Have you been able to teach anybody and help anybody and maybe point them in the right direction?
I was part of starting a business with you may have met him online, or in one of our Facebook groups, Mark Collier, who started Big Blue Designs several years ago, and he's based in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And he did not start out as a designer. That's what he does now is graphic
Mm.
design and web design. And so he approached me to help, help fulfill that part of it, because he knew that was going to be, if you're going to have a design business, even if it's web design, you got to have a designer. And so that was I mean, we were already friends. He actually used to be my boss when I lived in Oklahoma. And so a really cool relationship that we then, started this business called Big Blue Designs. And a lot of it was just mutually beneficial. But I know that kind of organically, it wasn't so much. I wasn't thinking so much at the time that I would now. I would really be pointing them in a direction, because, and this is kind of the way that I want to be with like YouTube and anything any kind of content that I put out, like with the classes that we're going to be doing, downtown here in Michigan here. It's really about uh, getting people to a point where they can be independent, and rather than relying on you so much. That's why I
Right.
think YouTube content is so great, because one, it works as a tool for me that I can point somebody to. I don't have to repeat myself a million times. Not that I mind that so much, but if you can create a video that people can watch and rewatch until they get it, you've created value, and you've
Absolutely.
created a tool for someone else to learn something at their own pace, in their own time, in their own convenient environment, etc. But I think Mark has been one of those. I've learned so much from him, and I know that he's learned a lot from me with specifically like Photoshop and some of the Adobe products, just by trying to be in business together. And we got to a point where he's doing that and doing a great job. And if he happens to come across this, I want him to know what a great designer he is. Even though he may never have started out that way, he's one of the best designers that I know.
Wow.
And that's not because I taught him all of that. He makes great decisions, but a lot of the technical part of the actual, functioning the applications and, navigating the software and stuff, was just gleaned from being around each other, and
Yeah, two people learning from each other.
yeah. And actually a lot of, we started the business in different states. He was in Oklahoma, I was in Michigan, and then I moved to Florida. And so we started this business together via live streams like this, and communicating with one of the cool, I think it's one of the maybe biggest testimonies that I have, experiences that I've had of how powerful live video communication can be. You can actually start and run a business with other people in different states, and Big Blue Designs is doing well, and Mark's doing a fantastic job. And that's not all because of me, but I think the technology that enabled us to connect, even from different points in the country, got us to a place where we can be doing our own thing now, and be doing very well. So there's a lot of that, and I don't even know if I answered your question really well, but
Yeah.
yeah,
No, you did. And, that got me thinking there's something else you and I have been talking a lot about, and that is collaboration. And
yeah,
I think that's what you're saying right there. I'm only one person. I only have one thought. And I have lots of thoughts. That's because that's how my mind works. But, I see things through my lenses. And it
right,
is so awesome. What I don't get working the way that I do, because I work out of my house right now. And I mean, obviously, I'm working out of my bedroom, right? So I don't have coworkers. One really cool thing, in the next couple of weeks, I'll be moving out of my bedroom into a different room of the house. I'll have my own studio set back up that I used to have, and that's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to it. But my point to that is, I don't have coworkers to bounce ideas off of.
yeah,
I don't get to sit down in a break room with somebody and download my workday with them. And so I only have one thought. And if I'm making a mistake, I don't have a boss looking over my shoulder, which is good and bad, but I don't have somebody saying, hey, I think you could really improve in this area. The only way I get that is when I throw my content out there, my audience gets to decide. And sometimes by then it's too late.
yeah,
And I think it's great to have somebody else look at your stuff or go along the journey with you and say, oh, maybe we need to turn left instead of going right.
right,
And I really miss being in, oh, I do and I don't. I mean, obviously both things have their challenges, whether you are a solopreneur like I am, or you're you're in a quote unquote job environment, both have their pluses and their minuses. For me, the downside to not being in a normal work environment is that I don't get the interaction with those coworkers, with people that are supporting the same process, because the goal is the same.
Mm-hmm.
I know you and I have talked about doing some collaboration, maybe doing a webinar. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Awesome.
we look at, okay, what skills can Joshua bring to the table and what skills can I bring to the table? I looked at that and I said, I like the fact that we both think organically as in terms of growth. I like that we both have this transparency idea. So, Joshua is somebody I feel like I can work with. And I also like the fact that you're willing to try things and I'm willing to try things. And we get to do that now. I don't have to move to Michigan. You don't have to move to Kansas. And we can do that just like you said you did that with Mark, and you were able to help each other, and both of you get to grow out of that experience. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity that I hope you and I get to do that too.
Yeah, me as well. It sounds like a blast, and I'm actually, neck deep in a life experiment, which is my new job. I started last week, and that's just kind of how the Pomeroys seem to approach things. Everything is a creative journey. I'm learning so much being at a job, and at the same time, it's something that I know is setting me up for something in the future, and I don't really know what that is. But I think that there's just so much to be gained in trying something, and so I'm excited to try something with you, and you know what, let's see how it goes. Let's see
Absolutely.
if we can inspire someone, or motivate someone, or hopefully if anything, there'll be content available for somebody, just like this video will be available for someone that may not even be watching live, but
Right.
because
They'll see the replay on that.
yeah. And I think that's something that's it's almost magical, when you think about it, because we can share this moment together in two different places of the country,
Mm-hmm.
but an infinite number of people could also be introduced to this content sometime in the future, and be part of this conversation after the fact. And that's very interesting to me. And so
it's sort of like a book when
yeah,
you think about it. How many people have all read the same book, and later they can sit down and they can discuss that book. They have book clubs and everything, that people get together and they discuss a book. The only difference is I can listen to a podcast or watch a video or something while I'm cooking, while I'm doing other things, and be part of a global conversation. And the author doesn't always know who's reading that book. Just like we may never know how many people end up watching this video. We'll see the count at the end of the video, right? But later down the road, we don't know what conversation this may have sparked between two other people 600 miles away.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. I was thinking when you were talking years ago, I don't know if you've read Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Have you read that book? You ever read that?
No.
Great book. I highly recommend it. And I don't recommend books. I'm not a reader. I'm just really not. I hate it when people say, oh, go read this book, but really it was a good one. And one of the concepts that he pointed out in that book was he didn't do things for money. He decided to take certain jobs, even though they may have appeared way below his educational abilities, or menial jobs, for the experience of them and how valuable experiences are. So when I collaborate with somebody on a project, and some of those projects may fail and some of them have succeeded, but when I get together with somebody, and I think it's all about saying yes to experiences that seem logical. I mean, I'm not going to say yes to an experience is going to be detrimental, but to an experience that seems logical, what I'm doing is educating myself. I think it was Bernard and I, we talked about the fact that these kids today are spending thousands of dollars going to school, and I did too. I went to college also, and I am not knocking college. I am not at all knocking higher education. But here's the reality of the world that we live in. people are spending a fortune on an education that by the time they get out of school, it may be useless. It really depends on what you go to school for. And
Right.
they're coming out and they're not able to find jobs in the field that they went to school for. Because what employers are really looking for now is bottom line ability, not bottom line education. And so, and again, I'm not knocking the education. I think it's very important. But you and I getting to do the things that we do, get to educate people, right? So we
Right.
first off get to provide people with the skill that they may not otherwise. And a lot of schools aren't even teaching some of the stuff that you're able to teach. Just like you said, you did the live streaming
Yeah.
for one of the schools. So having said that, I think what is more important than spending a fortune on education is spending time on experiences. Go ahead and take the opportunity to say yes to something and learn from that. Is a whole lot less expensive, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, our mutual friend, Roberto Blake, put a video up kind of about that idea. He was talking about spec work and speaking to designers specifically, but, and, there's some things he says so well,
He
a lot of
does.
things he says so well and just puts them right where they need to be and says them in a way that's very understandable. And you just kind of, it sticks like glue. And that's what he was talking about was like, rather than spending a whole lot of money on this educational experience and then kind of begrudging about when people want to use your services for free, what we call spec work,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and complain about that. Why don't you just take the spec work, because that's the experience that employers are going to look for anyway, rather than the education. You're not paying for the fact that somebody wants to use your services. I guess in a roundabout way you are if doing it for free. But what you're gaining back is that experience. Like
Right.
somebody approaches you, hey, I need a business card. Can you do that for free? Well, if your plan was to go to school or to pay whatever amount of money, now sometimes school can be free too, and if that's the case for anybody, I would highly suggest doing that.
Yeah.
But most of the time that's not the case. And you're exactly right. What I've seen in my own career is that employers are looking for experience and being able to execute the tasks.
Correct.
That's what they need to know. That's their bottom line, so that they can get their job done and make sure that their clients are happy. Can you do the job
Right.
consistently?
It's no longer show me what you learned. It's now show me what you've done. And
Right.
going back to using YouTube as a platform, or Twitter, or a Facebook now with the live streaming, you can actually show somebody what you've done. You can say, hey, here's this video that I have. Go check it out. I can now, I'm not a designer, so it's a little bit different for me. But even as a life coach, you would be surprised how many people would say, hey, can you just talk to me for free? And I gave a lot of it away for free, probably too much. I probably gave too much, but a lot of good came out of that too, because there were times when one client who couldn't pay me would introduce me to somebody who could,
Yeah.
And also I would use those opportunities when they weren't paying me actual dollars. I would use those opportunities to say, do you mind if I practice this new technique on you? Or do you mind if we go this direction, because I want to see if it's going to work? And they weren't paying me, so what was their answer going to be, right? They would
Right.
say, sure, let's go ahead and do that. And I learned a lot, and sometimes I failed at it. But I'm one of those who believes in learning through our failures too.
Yeah.
I think that's important. So
Absolutely.
yeah, again, not to knock education. I have a degree. I went to school. I told all of my kids, you will go to college, and they did. And I think that's important. But because sometimes you can't even get your foot in the door to show your potential employer what you've done without first having that piece of paper to back that. So using the opportunity, I think maybe it's Bernard who said he goes to YouTube University and he'll be a student for life or
Yeah.
something like that. There's just so much to learn.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it.
Well, Joshua, we've been talking now for looks like just about an hour, and I kind of want us to go ahead and wrap some things up. And we've hijacked our audience long enough. So before we go, though, do you have any last words of wisdoms, more things that you'd like to discuss about, this online opportunity, and especially when it comes to, I really would like for you to talk about what opportunities you see in the future, and we'll wrap it up with that for Facebook live streaming. I see some big opportunities, but what are you seeing?
I think that there's so many ways that I don't even know, how it could be used, or how it will be used, for business, for communication, etc. But I still think that, probably the greatest potential that live streaming on Facebook has, because there's so many people connected to Facebook already and know how to use it and are just there every day, is being able to present ideas in near real time, and with the personality, and that will be used all different ways. I know, that could be to present a product, it could be to present, an idea, some sort of educational experience, or here's how you do this, work around this, or for meaningful personal conversations. And I think in every case, the thing that people seem to want to connect with is other people. And that, what does a product mean to me if it doesn't mean anything to me, personally, or for the people that I care about? Not not a whole lot. If I can't,
Yeah.
and if I can't personalize, a thing or an experience, it's hard for me to see it having value in my life. And so I think that's probably the greatest potential Facebook live streaming has, is this, you really have given Facebook, probably for the first time, more than just a face. You've given it a real soul, in a way. I don't want to sound weird, but what comes across, like in this conversation and so many conversations that we have had through Facebook live streaming, is not just a pretty picture, but so much of the intent, so much of the emotion, and the value that can be presented in a live video. I also think that, and I'm very, very excited about this, is interaction steers content now. That
Right.
by being live as opposed to a recorded video, I think that recorded video still has a lot of value. Archived lessons and classes and all kinds of things that are now references. But by doing things live, which I intend to do more of, you've just given your audience, or potential audience, a voice to be part of that content in real
Yes.
time. And
Yes.
all of a sudden, more than just you, like in this conversation, I could have been doing a live stream just by myself and talking to, whatever, or recording a video, but by giving, a voice graciously to me in this interview, which I very much appreciate, has opened something up for other people who are watching or could be watching in the future. And I think that happening in near real time through live streaming, and being willing to be interrupted, there's all sorts of things that are just going to happen, and I think just adds value to what's already out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I'm looking, and I think it's coming to the time when, right now, what's cool about doing Facebook streaming is, I can get on there, I could do a tutorial, and I can get that feedback in real time from people that are typing in their comments. I think it's going to be interesting. Now I can leave a video comment for somebody, but I can't do it during a live stream. But I think it's coming, and I think
Yeah.
that's going to be very interesting. And I'm also looking forward to, and maybe it's available and I'm not aware of it yet, but I'm looking forward to the opportunity where we can do an interview like this on Facebook, because for me personally, that's where my largest audience is. Certainly I have a YouTube audience as well, but I interact more because Facebook is meant to be a little bit more personal, a little bit more interactive. So I interact more with my friends and potential clients and things like that through Facebook. And that's just me. Some people are doing that on Twitter, some people are doing that on Snapchat, but for me it is Facebook. So I'm looking forward to them, and I think it's coming. I do. I think Bernard always says that pretty soon he's going to have a Facebook channel. Not a Facebook page, but a Facebook channel.
Yeah.
And I think that's, yeah, I think that's coming. I do. So I want us to go ahead and wrap things up, but I don't want to let you go until you've had a chance to tell everybody that's watching some ways that they can get a hold of you. You do such incredible work with your graphic art, and there's no reason why people shouldn't be tapping into your skills and your talent. So why don't you let us know how they can get a hold of you, how they can connect with you?
Well, you can follow me right now, on Facebook, since we're talking about Facebook. Facebook.com/Joshua Pomeroy Live. That's where I'm posting all of my live content, and you can be part of that content by following me there. You can also check out joshuapomeroy.com, and that really is sort of my live portfolio. That's where all my Instagram ends up being posted as well. I'm on Instagram as well, pretty much everywhere else in social media. YouTube, it's just Pomeroy Joshua, so my last name and first name. Twitter's the same way, Pomeroy at Pomeroy Joshua, and you can follow me on all of them. So
Okay.
hope to see you there.
Okay, well, awesome. Joshua, thank you so much for the great talk that we've had today. And I'm looking forward to our collaboration. I think that it would be good for us to do another conversation, maybe specifically about that when the time comes. In the meantime, y'all have been watching the Get Clear show. We've been talking with Joshua Pomeroy today, particularly about live streaming and about the things that he does. Thanks, Joshua, for being my guest today. I hope the rest of you all have a great evening. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.